Hello, everyone, and welcome to Rare Drop Gaming Podcast. I'm your host. Well, actually, I'm not your host, but I'm the guy streaming today. I'm Phantom Zwei, and I'm joined by the actual host of the show.
Hey, this is Jason.
Hey, how you doing, Jason? And,
Hey, good, man.
And we also have with us...
Just Adam today.
Just Adam. Yeah, I'm actually just Andrew, but, I always am talking about myself on the internet as Phantom Zwei, so it's kind of natural, which is weird, but whatever. Anyway, we're here to talk about video games.
Hey, video games are good, man.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan. So, just a Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays to everyone who is listening / watching. We gotta tell people where they can see us. Obviously, if you're watching live now, we're streaming live via Twitch at www.twitch.tv/raredropgaming. And we're going to be available anytime on YouTube at youtube.com/raredropgamepodcast. That's Rare Drop Game Podcast.
Yep, today we're going to be streaming a little bit of Sonic Adventure DX, which is pretty damn old school. This is the PC version, the director's cut. But yeah, this is a game that was originally out on the Dreamcast, so I'll be running through a bit of that today while we, just shoot the shit, talk about stuff.
Man, just looking at this game now, I mean, gosh, I wonder how old this game is, because we actually got this for the Sega Dreamcast when it first came out. It was one of the launch titles, if I remember correctly.
I think so, yeah. We got that in Crazy Taxi, I believe.
Yeah, that sounds right.
This looks old now, real old.
It does, man. God.
Well, it's funny, too. I remember how much you enjoyed this game, at least the first impression it made on you.
Yeah,
and
I still remember it fondly. Whether it holds up, I don't know.
Yeah, but I mean, apparently the Sonic games just went to absolute shit after this.
Yeah.
Pretty much, yeah.
This is the last good Sonic game.
That's actually not true. I think they've released 2 or 3 pretty decent ones in the past couple of years. It's just I haven't played them. Wasn't Sonic Generations pretty good? And then they had a Wii one that was pretty good, I think.
Yeah, I think you're right, actually.
We just haven't played them. So,
Yeah.
But there's been
It's
some
just
terrible
weird.
Sonic games.
Wasn't this their first venture into 3D?
Yes, I believe so.
I believe so, yeah.
You'd think that'd be the hardest transition to make, right? But then it seemed like after they were like, oh, okay, we know how to do this in 3D. Apparently after that, the Sonic games. I mean, I was never a big Sonic player. It's just kind of funny that all the reviews I heard after this for the Sonic games were terrible.
Yeah,
I mean, for the most part.
I agree. The camera was pretty bad in this game, but other than that, really good.
Yeah, I remember actually dying a lot because of the camera.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they were still working that out in this era in gaming.
Yeah, for sure.
Things have definitely come a lot further now.
Is anyone getting an amazing amount of terrible feedback?
I mean, I can hear you fine on my end.
Just a rumbling,
Not here.
No, I'm
Okay.
not getting that.
That's weird, because it's starting and stopping randomly. But, anyway, never mind. Go ahead. Continue on.
Wow.
Maybe the sound is coming from inside the house. Dun, dun, dun.
Maybe look behind you, Andrew.
That's right.
This is the point where you don't look behind you.
Oh, man.
But anyway,
So,
enough about
yeah.
Sonic Adventure, right?
Yeah, sure. I mean, we'll only be playing it through the whole podcast. But...
Yeah, I mean, hey, if you never played this game before, you get to see plenty of it now.
I'm not playing shit.
All right. Hey, we'll talk about shit.
we
Maybe
will.
literally if you want. I mean, South Park.
Right, that's what we were talking about before we went live.
That's right.
So this is, officially episode 1. We attempted episode 1, 2 or 3 weeks back?
Yeah, I guess
And,
that was beta 0.99 or something.
Yeah.
I still think this should be episode 1.1 or episode I1.
It could be that too, but I made the stupid mistake of not turning my own microphone on, so that show was just shot. I don't know if anyone watched it, but I actually went as far as to upload it to YouTube before watching it and realizing that my mic was totally muted. I was like, great, this is professional. So,
I just had a brilliant idea, and I'm just going to lay this out here in the middle of the podcast. This is live. This is live brainstorming happening right now. Are you ready
right.
for this?
Yeah,
All
I'm
right.
ready.
Go for it, man.
I'm
Okay.
pumped.
After episode 3, We need to have like a brief episode, just a mini-sode called Episode
Mini-sode.
Pie. Episode PI. But all we're going to do in it is like eat pie live on air and review it.
I could go for this idea.
So
It's a little 10-minute pie reviewing episode.
I
Well,
like.
it
pie.
depends on the kind of pie I think that we're going to go for as to whether or not I like more.
Well, we
I
each have our own
personally-
pies because we're geographically separated.
I'm personally of the opinion that cake owns pie every time.
Hmm.
I don't know if people on the podcast here agree with me or not, but
I don't know, man. I've had some really good pie.
I'd say in general, I probably prefer pie, but I really like Italian cream cake, German chocolate cake when it's done right, red velvet cake. It really depends. Like, pound cake's not huge for me, but I don't know. Like, if you offer me pie, I can't even think of very many pies that I don't really enjoy.
Yeah, they're all pretty awesome.
I'm not saying pie is bad, to be clear. I'm just
But
saying
you just
that
you feel
I,
cake is
Oh,
superior.
Jesus.
I
Yes.
said I can think
I
I
fell
can
through
think
the
of
world.
cakes I don't like. Like I'd rather not eat birthday cake. When people offer me birthday cake, I normally just politely decline because
Oh, man.
I'd actually rather not eat it than eat it.
That's crazy to me. That is,
Yeah,
that's
see,
seriously-
I love birthday cake. Of course,
think
I
it's
just
that
like
yellow
eating
cake because I don't like cupcakes either. I think it's just that yellow cake that they use in birthday cake
Oh,
and
man.
cupcakes I don't like.
Cupcakes
I'm
are
a fan.
awesome too.
I think that this game just is really got some weird like PC optimization things going on because I'm randomly just hearing sound effects just blasting through my ears, and I have no idea if they're coming through like that on the podcast. But it doesn't even match up what's going on screen. Like I'll hear splashing water, and I'll hear like explosions. It's like Die Hard. It's just playing in my ear all of a sudden.
Maybe you caught the guile worm and it just randomly is throwing sonic booms into your ears.
Maybe that's it.
That could be a hilarious piece of malware. Like it's just like what does it do? It just gets into your system and occasionally like Guile will shout things at you.
Sonic Boom.
Exactly.
Or is it like Street Fighter Alpha guy where he's like Sonic Boom? Or no, that's I think that's Super Street Fighter.
Yeah, I
'Cause,
think so.
Street Fighter Alpha guy was more like Sonic Boom.
Yeah, he had the super deep voice. Oh, gee.
Yeah.
Well, you know, it was weird because in Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo, I'm sorry, in Super. Wait, hold on, I've got to make sure I've got my my understanding of the different iterations.
There are so many.
Street
we can
Fighter
talk
2
about
Turbo,
more later in the
it
podcast.
was like
Yeah.
it was like Sonic Boom. But then when they did Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo, when they unveiled Fei Long and T-Hawk and Cammy, for some reason they changed the voice actor and it was like Sonic Boom.
Yeah, that was like Gay Guile. He's like Sonic Boom.
I don't know. It was just a weird. It was a really weird choice. It seemed like they would have at least tried to get someone who sounded kind of like Guile used to. I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't really care one way or another that much.
Yeah, I didn't even think about it back then, but thinking about it now, that's how you can tell we're old.
Oh God, you know what? I think I saw Mike Matei and James Rolfe play this on James and Mike Mondays not long ago, and I think they hated it.
Well, they had everything, so what do you
Yeah,
expect?
yeah, they kind of do.
They're like all internet reviewers.
Yeah, it's kind of their
Pretty
thing.
much.
But anyway, I don't hate everything. So
I don't either. I like a
Yeah.
lot of video games, and
That's
I like
right.
a lot of movies too.
That's kind of
So with
why
that-
they're hobbies.
Exactly. So with that in
And-
mind, we should talk about what we've been watching and playing.
Cool.
So, a little game came out called Dragon Age Inquisition, and
what's that?
Dragon Age Inquisition, I believe.
Oh, okay. The game that I put like over 100 hours into. Okay.
Yeah,
I-
yeah,
I
that
can't-
game.
I cannot afford to get it right now, and I'm very sad.
I'm sad too because I also cannot afford to get it, but I want to play it because
Yeah.
it looks really spectacular.
Yeah, when you guys can, you should grab it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
When
was
it
one of
goes
those weird assholes who defended Dragon Age 2, so obviously I was ready for this.
Well, it's not like it was a horrible game, but it just had issues.
See, I didn't
Yeah.
even go that far. I'm like, I didn't say, like, I wouldn't even say it's not like it was a horrible game. I just said it's not as good as Dragon Age, but
Right.
I still played through it 3 times.
Right.
I mean,
So,
it was just a weird thing where you kind of expect the sequel to be better than the original in general, and then you come to Dragon Age 2, which is just like pretty much objectively worse in a lot of respects. And you know, I did think that the game felt really kind of rushed in terms of just the way that it was laid out and everything. But that's just my personal opinion.
Well, I did see him trying some new stuff though that I was kind of fond of. I mean, like obviously the animations were a little bit slicker, a little bit more dynamic, and I know that they were doing more of their weird dialogue trees. Like in a way that was kind of interesting. At least it made it a little bit more clear, like what your intent was, because sometimes in Dragon Age Origins, you'd be like, oh, that response seems reasonable, but then you'd realize that after you selected that apparently your character is saying this with a snide tone, and you can't really tell.
Well, the thing is, Dragon Age 2 was even worse because you just didn't know what you were saying.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. The weird trade-off there was that it would tell you kind of like what your general response is, but then what would come out of your mouth wasn't exactly what you said or what you had selected. I mean, it might be close. It was generally pretty close to it, but I say at least the tone was understood in a way that could be kind of better because it avoided the confusion of, oh, I didn't mean to make that an asshole remark. I meant that in sincerity, and now Alistair's pissed at me.
I don't know. I personally prefer the other way because it says verbatim what you're going to say. And you know, generally I feel like it was easier to understand. But again, you know, that's a personal thing, obviously.
What I would prefer would be the removal of the wheel and just give me like an icon next to each of my dialogue options that informs me what the tone
what is
is.
actually going to be said, yeah.
Yeah, basically a little emoji. You know, it's funny, people are down on emojis and emoticons and stuff, but a lot of times, like in internet conversations, I will use them to make sure my tone is understood.
Yeah, I do that too.
Yeah, for sure.
I don't really. Are people down on internet icons? Like, I didn't even know that was the thing.
I think they're viewed as like a shallow way of communicating. Although, like I said, like I can normally communicate what I'm saying pretty well without being misunderstood, without having to include stuff like that. But like today, I was playing The Secret World, and we had a guy who was new, and I asked him, "Can you leave the buffs to me?" But I wanted to make sure that that question was understood as being non-accusatory, so I put a little smiley face after it.
Right. It's not like, hey, you suck, dude. Like, just let me handle it.
Right, it's not leave the buffs to me, you incompetent dick.
Exactly.
Well, you would be the dick in that case, so, you know.
Because, well, I mean, sometimes things can come off like that on, you know, when you're just reading a chat.
Oh, yeah, I mean, especially with sarcasm.
Yeah.
You know, that kind of thing. So
there's none of that online.
Oh, I mean, it's very easy to interpret that where there is none at times.
Right.
Just because, you know, that's how people are.
Well, I find sticking my tongue out at people can be really useful in these kinds of situations. That way, it helps me indicate that I'm being sarcastic, or perhaps I'm having a go at them, but I'm not, as the British would say, having a go. I'm riffing on them, but I don't mean it in sincerity.
Right. You're just playing.
So this is like the first. Is this really the first like open world game almost?
No.
Sonic the Hedgehog. I mean. Like, I know there's
mean,
been, like, Grand Theft Auto games, but, like, this is probably the first, like, 3D... I mean, I'm sure it's not, but...
I mean, I wouldn't call this open world. It's just, it's got a large hub world, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, it's just kind of got a little interlinking area that connects to a bunch of levels.
Right.
So it's really just Mega Man, but fancier.
I don't really know if I would call it that, but, you know, if you want to go there, go for it, man.
Maybe that's a more apt description of Super Mario 64. The castle was just the Mega Man stage select.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Just fancier.
You're right.
I mean, sort of. You know,
I didn't even think about
that way.
Mario World.
I don't even know what I'm doing, by the way. Okay, take the train to the Mystic Ruins. Where the F is the train?
I can't even remember, man. It's been so...
subway station.
I remember, you know... There's a little hint thing.
This has just been a complete fail so far. So anyway, video games.
Yeah. So Dragon Age Inquisition, man.
Yeah, a game that hopefully I didn't fail quite as bad at.
So I mean, you are a big Dragon Age guy, Andrew. Like you played the first one several times on console and PC.
I played the fuck out of Dragon Age Origins. I mean, I beat that game on Nightmare. Yeah. I played all the classes.
You've done everything there is to do in Dragon Age 1, and probably in Dragon Age 2 as well, I can imagine.
Not really. I never even bothered with Nightmare in Dragon Age 2, because I just didn't care, if I'm being brutally frank. But, you know, I played Dragon Age 2 a couple times, so... Okay, this is the train station. But Dragon Age Inquisition, you know, some people might take issue with this, but I think it's kind of a return to form.
Okay, so that's awesome, because, you know, I've heard different things, but I guess I really haven't heard... You don't really hear anyone saying if it really met their expectations, I guess.
Yeah, it's really difficult to say, because there are things about it that I really like, and there's parts about it I don't like, you know? I would never go as far as to say Inquisition is, you know, a flawless gem, you know, anything like that. There's parts of it that I just straight up don't like, but I do enjoy, I think the overall sum of its parts is a large positive.
Very cool. So, how many, like, what are the classes like in this one? Let me just ask that before I even get into the story.
Well, it's got the same classes as always. It's got a warrior, a mage, and a rogue. With a rogue, you can either dual-wield daggers, or you can be an archer. As a mage, of course, you have access to all kinds of, like, elemental trees. There's a sort of barrier tree. You know, so basically, I should just say that you can play a support sort of mage, or you can play a offensive mage, or kind of... Well, anyway, you get what I'm saying. Or, as a warrior, you can play as sort of a tank, or, you know, as an offensive two-hander that just destroys everything in its path. Oh my god, the random noise in this game.
Wait. So, if you... Oh, that's awesome. Okay. Well, if you need to do, like, a Let's Play where you're playing a two-handed warrior, and you need to name your character, like, Phantom's Vihander.
I kind of like it, I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, I could get into that. I'd watch that. Most important thing, let's talk about the story, because we've talked about, I should say we've been very critical of BioWare since certain Mass Effect 3. How was the story, man? Let me just ask you straight up.
Yeah, you know, straight up is the way to phrase that question. I'm pausing the game here because the sound is fucking broken, and I think it's probably just drowning out our conversation. But the story's good, straight up. Way better characters than Dragon Age 2, I think. They're just way more fleshed out, and there's a ton of them. You know, not just your party members, but you also have these characters that are supporting you, you know, within your organization, but, you know, you don't directly control. Of course, there's, as always, there's tons of just, you know, little NPC characters, some which are important and some are not you know, are not that important. And, yeah, it just overall comes together really well, I think. I think this is very well fleshed out. The main story is easily it's the shining beacon of the game. The side quests,
right?
Yeah. The side quests, I won't lie, a lot of them can feel very MMO-y. And I mean that in a derogatory manner, to be honest. They're very fetch questy. Go here, get this for me, bring it back. Go here.
And how many wombats do I need to kill on the way?
There's that too. So, you know, there's a lot of that in the game. Kind of, honestly, at times feels like you're playing an MMO. And I, again, mean that in kind of a derogatory manner. And the reason for that is because, and this is a positive, ironically, the world is so goddamn big, it's stupid. It's ridiculous. Each individual area is massive. The Hinterlands, the first big area that you go to, is literally bigger than the entirety of Dragon Age Origins by itself. And that's the first fucking area of the game.
That's insane.
Yeah, it's nuts.
Well, that being said, you know, Dragon Age Origins was mostly like a series of reasonably sized maps connected by an overmap that you didn't actually traverse.
And
it was more like Mega Man.
Yeah, there we go. Back to Mega Man.
Oh, God, bring it back around. But, you know, that is to say the Dragon Age Origins obviously was much more packed with interesting content in that surface space, you know. Whereas the Hinterlands, there's a lot of these quests that I'm talking about. The very MMO feeling of, you know, kind of quests that are rather inconsequential. When you complete these sort of random quests, you gain a currency in the game, essentially, called Power, which you're able to use back at your headquarters to unlock new areas to use on these little side missions that you can access on your war map, things like that, as well. And also, when you gain a level in your influence, which is another thing that you gain through doing side quests, you're able to gain perks, which you can put towards increasing the abilities of the Inquisition as a whole, or kind of as increasing the just specifically your party, depending on what you want to put your points in. There's a good bit of depth to it. There's some things that I think in terms of the perks that are kind of like blatantly better than others, because generally you're gonna want to focus on the things that benefit your party, I feel like, because that's where the challenge of the game comes from, right? But yeah, there's just so much to talk about. I don't even know like where to go with it really. There's so many systems in the game. Again, the side quests, some of them can be boring. There are generally 2 or 3 quests in an area that it feels like they really put a lot of time and care into, and they're really interesting from a story perspective in terms of they have characters that they introduce in those little arcs that kind of play a role. And sometimes they'll join the Inquisition, or they'll turn out to be a bad guy, or blah blah blah, anything like that. But most of the quests are of that variety of they don't really matter. And okay, I should say they don't really matter overall, but there's lore tucked away in every freaking corner of this game. So if you're the sort that really cares about the world building aspect of a game or a story, and you kind of want to know more about an area, or you want to know more about this order of knights, or what this scientist thinks about why the undead have risen up in this area, or this guy who studies dragons, and maybe you can recruit him and find out how to hunt more dragons, that kind of thing. So there's a wide variety of stuff to do. There's lots of lore to gather, both from books, from characters, just kind of all over the place. And there's tons of areas that are way off the beaten path that kind of have these little tidbits tucked away. So even though, a lot of the side quests aren't necessarily too interesting, if you gather up a lot of them and you kind of head in one direction, you'll kind of also just blanket complete a lot of them without going out of your way. So that's kind of nice, because it feels like you're pretty continuously making progress without going back and forth. Again, when it comes to the story, extremely satisfying. Without spoiling anything, I will say that there is a strong presence of both Dragon Age Origins and Dragon Age 2 in Dragon Age Inquisition. They both in reference and in terms of cameos.
That's nice, because that was a big letdown in Dragon Age 2.
It really was, but they do not fail to deliver in Dragon Age Inquisition. I'll just go ahead and say it because she's one of the main characters of the game, and she joins you literally you see her in the first scene of the game. Liliana is straight up in the Inquisition.
Sweet.
She is your spy master, so she doesn't actually fight with you in combat, but she's constantly around, and she is killing dudes for you, and she is gathering intel on what you need to be doing next, and blah blah blah.
Wait, doesn't it kind of open up like a plot hole a little bit though?
What do you mean?
I mean, okay, so imagine that you're playing a game set in the Marvel universe of a group of spy startups, right? And you've got Black Widow working for you. At no point anybody's like, "Hey, you think you'd mind coming over here with me and helping me murder this really dangerous guy?" Given that you're amazing. I mean, she helped destroy the Archfiend. You'd kind of think at some point somebody'd be like, "A little help, please." I mean, I don't need you for long. You get back to your spy thing. I just need you to help me murder this guy because he's really scary.
Yes, but I don't think it really becomes an issue because pretty much your party is composed of a bunch of badasses. So
okay, gotcha.
It doesn't really feel like it's necessary for Liliana to leave her post, because you've essentially, literally from 30 minutes to an hour in the game, depending on how quickly you complete sort of the tutorial area, quote unquote, because it's still filled to the brim with story and it's just a breakneck pace through the very beginning of the game. But the point being that you are amassing an army from basically the beginning of the game. And that's in terms of you collecting, of course, your main party members, but also in terms of building up your forces in the Inquisition. The Inquisition isn't just this small little. It's basically, I'm saying, it's not like the Awakening little fortress. Basically, by the end of Inquisition, you're a force to be reckoned with, almost on like a national scale. So it's pretty awesome. And your individual party members, like you're recruiting Grey Wardens. You've got this group of knights called the Seekers, who if you've played Dragon Age 2, you might recognize. Varric makes a return, so that's kind of cool. There's a lot of characters, and they're very varied, and they all seem to bring something pretty cool to the table. You also got, of course, the extremely eccentric characters, because hey, a Bioware game's got to have those, right? So it's not like they're all just badasses. I guess I should clarify, but you certainly have people who are up to the task. Let's say.
I was gonna say there's badass, and then there's like murdered an undead demon dragon with a bow and arrow.
That's also true.
I mean, that'll just go to TV tropes and look up. Did you just punch out Cthulhu?
I'm not gonna say you're wrong, because when I learned Liliana was in the game, which was before, of course, it was released, because they had all this kind of pre-release stuff and were showing stuff, and it's like, hey, it's Liliana. But when I found out she wasn't actually a playable character after knowing she was there, I was kind of sad. Yeah. There are other characters also from Dragon Age 1 and 2 that show up. It's not just Liliana and not just Varric. Like I said, there's a strong presence of it, and it's really good what they do with it. So if you played either of those games or both of those games, you're not going to be disappointed in terms of kind of their linkage to their predecessors. And they don't feel terribly contrived, which I like a lot. It kind of seems like the characters that show up, it's like, yeah, of course they would show up given the circumstances.
When you were talking about amassing an army by the end of the game, so I think since BioWare likes to introduce all of these various choices and stuff, right? I'd want to go like I'd want to be able to go like a Mortal Kombat route. Like, yeah, I'm going to amass an army as a mage, but then I'm going to systematically murder them, eat their souls, and become Ermac in essence.
Wow.
So now I'm like one entity with an army of souls.
That's kind of brutal, man. Not gonna lie.
Well, they gotta give you the evil option, right? Well, wouldn't it be funny if like here's the problem with the evil options. A lot of times, the evil options are normally not like sufficiently tempting or attractive to really take them, in my opinion. I was gonna say, by the way, if you want to continue to play this, can you just mute the sound on the game? I don't think it would be that.
I'm going to, but I have to. God damn it! It's so loud. I have to literally exit the game, so I'm gonna wait.
Well.
Oh, I won't let you do it like for options.
Yeah, if I go here, bam, that's it.
Yeah.
It's in the configuration options for the game, which I have to exit in order to access, because this game is not very well optimized for PC. Clearly.
Yeah. Definitely.
Well, couldn't you just use your volume control on the computer?
No, because that is linked directly to the stereo mix, which includes the Skype call.
Which we probably don't want to do that's
then
that's not what I mean. Like, yeah, like you click on it, but then you click the mixer and you just mute that directly. You just mute that particular. You just mute the game directly, or will that mute this call too?
I am not really familiar with messing with that, so I cannot answer your question there. But yeah, I'll handle that in a minute here.
This is live, and as it's happening, man, mistakes are going to happen. I mean, one great thing about like podcasting the way we used to, when we weren't doing it live, is I could go in and edit any major mistake out, or if we needed to take a break, we could pause or whatever. But with this, it's just all out there, man. So,
yeah, for sure. Sonic Adventure was a last-minute decision to stream. Why did I do that? Because Isaac was not wanting to stream correctly. So, yeah.
Yeah, it happens. But yeah,
let's finish the talk about Dragon Age Inquisition real quick. Any questions about it, I guess?
I mean, from what you're saying, it definitely sounds like it's a true next generation title for consoles. But I know one of your big complaints was that it's not really, I guess PC optimized is not the word, but the controls
The controls
are
on
not
PC are
very
freaking
different.
awful.
Yeah, I mean, basically
Straight
the
up.
console, it's made for a console controller,
Yes,
right?
they clearly at least had consoles in mind when they were making it, and it's to the PC version's detriment. Um, this is most evident in the tactical camera, which is awful. It's straight up terrible compared to what it should be, particularly on PC. On consoles, okay, I kind of understand why it has to be like this, uh, but when you've got a mouse and keyboard, the way it's handled feels terrible, straight up, just awful. Um, there is a patch to, or not, no, not a patch. There is a like little cheat engine sort of add-on to where you can unlock the tactical camera now, but it's linked to cheat engine. So there is that. I haven't really messed with it, but I saw it when I was futzing around with the game, and might grab that eventually. I haven't really played the game in a few days though, so because I finished it.
So yeah, I mean that part of it is a shame if I can talk here. Um, but overall, it sounds like you really enjoyed the experience, man.
I did. The controls definitely took some getting used to. In particular, again, the tactical camera was terrible, but it's also really weird because they have the spacebar mapped to jump, which if you play the Dragon Age games, you expect that to be pause for combat, and I straight up couldn't handle that, so I had to remap it. Or rather, I moved jump to the control key, which is weird as friggin' hell, but it felt more right to me than space being jump, because jumping is something new to the Dragon Age series, which frankly feels pretty tacked on. It does not feel great. But that kind of goes back to how exploration can kind of be cumbersome, because every freaking area feels like it's got mountains that are way too steep for you to climb, so you have to find the path to go around. It's basically, the Elder Scrolls, more like Skyrim syndrome, because that one's got so many mountains in it.
Yeah, mountains everywhere in that game.
Yeah, so you've got to find the right path around to get to your objective and all. And it gets really old, when you're trying to complete most everything that you come across. I gave up on completing everything towards the end, because I was at the last mission and was like, you know what? I could complete another 3 areas of like rather meaningless side quests, maybe with a few good ones, which I'm going to go back and do eventually. But I kind of want to see what happens, because I was at the last mission and I'd already done a ton more side stuff, and it's like, no, I want to beat the game.
Right.
And so I did, and the last mission is kind of weird because of like how the story plays out. It's kind of strange as a climax, but it's not bad. It's just kind of strange. You'll see what I mean if you play it. The ending is pretty good, not amazing, but pretty good. And after the track record of Dragon Age 2, which had a basically non-ending, it was awful, and Mass Effect 3, which had a terrible ending, BioWare really needed that. Like, even an ending where you could be like, yeah, okay, that's good. Nothing mind-blowing, but something that's satisfying. It answers lots of questions in the game about things that we've been wondering about. Since the first game, even, it answers some questions. And some really intriguing ones. But it also raises many more. There's many more hooks in this game relating to past and new characters, which kind of entwine in many times. And I want to know what's going to happen next. I'm already excited for either the inevitable sequel or an expansion. I kind of hope there is an expansion. This game certainly is good enough to warrant one, I think. There's plenty there. And it seems like a game where it's so big and, there's so many different ways to build your character and stuff. It seems like a game that would easily kind of have one added onto it. The game doesn't even have a level cap, for crying out loud. So, they might as well just, have some scalable, at least some good DLC, if not a outright expansion.
Now, one last question I have to ask for a guy like me who's only played a little bit of the first Dragon Age and, a little bit of the second. How accessible is it to new players?
you will not get many things that are supposed to be really cool. But at the same time, it's still a really good story in its own right. Just because you don't know, hey, that's Cullen, doesn't mean that, you're not going to enjoy him as a character.
Right.
Just because you don't know Liliana doesn't mean that she's not going to be an intriguing character. Though she'll be referencing things in her past and, like these characters that you just don't know about. And you'll be
Wait a
like,
minute.
Wait, what?
I don't know who Cullen is. Who the hell's Cullen?
You should know who's Cullen is.
Apparently, I don't remember him.
He was in Dragon Age Origins and 2. You don't remember Cullen, really?
That's a topic for off air.
He was the
I'll
Templar
look
in the
him up.
Mage Tower in Dragon Age Origins.
Oh, yeah, that bastard.
And in Dragon Age 2, he was Meredith's commander-in-chief, who kind of, like, turned against her with you in the final battle. Or turned against her with you.
Yeah, I gotcha. Well, wait a minute. Yeah.
So I should probably just go and play Dragon Age 1, because I actually have that downloaded for the PC.
Dragon Age Origins is still the best in the series, to me. I'll be honest. Dragon
Yeah.
Age Inquisition is fantastic. Straight up, it's a great game. Origins is better.
Gotcha.
In my opinion. I feel like it's better from a, not really a balanced perspective, because you can steamroll that game, but if you know how to build your character. But I don't know. Like, it feels like they didn't know how to handle, like, certain mechanical things in the game, so I don't really like some of the decisions. Here's another thing, and I know this is kind of turning into a rant, but, this is my chance to talk about the game, so... they straight up removed healing spells from the game. You cannot heal at all with magic. Instead, and there's no post-combat regeneration either. Instead, you have barrier spells, which cast sort of like a shield effect on you and drain over time, and of course, when you take damage, they go down. Also, tanks are able to acquire armor, which is kind of like the same thing, except for exclusive to warrior characters. Of course, rogues are able to acquire like this dodge ability, essentially, to help them move out of the way of attacks if you're quick enough. But it's not like, being able to like double tap a key in more action-oriented games to dodge out of the way. It's a little more clunky, so it's like you kind of see what they were going for, but it doesn't really work the way you'd hope. So I don't know. I kind of dislike the fact that they took out healing spells, like, a lot, honestly. Because if you want to make... I wanted my mage to be a support character. That was how I wanted to build my character. I made a mage with the intent of doing that. She ended up being a barrier mage because that's the closest I could get. And she became an utter freaking badass by the end, but it wasn't the way I envisioned her. It's just, she kind of morphed into what she became. She became basically a warrior support mage, which is weird. Straight up creating energy blades on the front line and casting barriers. And I didn't know this, but turns out with the specialization I took to create those things, like, they enhanced barriers along the tree to begin with. So basically, I had barriers up all the time. It was kind of broken, to be honest. Like, the early part of the game, she was really underpowered, and towards the end of the game, I literally, and this is no hyperbole, I was running up to dragons and just beating them in the face, and they could not beat me down. They would
just
knock
watch out Cthulhu.
Basically, they would knock me around and light me on fire, and I'd be like, "Oh Jesus Christ!" and then I would cast barrier and be fine. And, just run back up to him and start slashing him in the leg. As long as I had my tank up, I was fine, because normally they would be focused on her. So I would just make sure I got both of them in the barrier spell. Funny thing is, my other two characters always died. Like, every dragon fight. They would just get themselves killed. And eventually I just kind of gave up, and I'm like, you know what? Don't worry, we'll handle this. So it's kind of funny the way it turned out, but...
You're just like, I got this.
Yeah. But anyway, I've totally gone on a tangent. Essentially, I kind of don't like all the combat mechanics they went with. I don't like that there's no longer, after combat health regeneration, because it makes it more tedious with the world being so huge, because you're only able to heal at camps, where you kind of, like, put down these flags and set up tents in certain areas, which are predetermined on the map when you find them. So you just choose to set up camp, bam, you can fast travel to that location anytime you want, and you can heal. But that also means that if you go far out and you get really beat up and you know that there's a big encounter ahead, or say that you went ahead and you got killed there, you're like, I need to heal. I don't have enough potions. Say if if you were, it wasn't really a huge problem for me because of my party, because I had a specialized barrier mage. But if you decided to go with a different setup, or you were playing on a higher difficulty, which is, they really do ramp up the difficulty as you get up there, it seems like. But if you had something like that, you would straight up need to teleport back to your camp to replenish your potions, because that happens automatically when you reach a camp, and to heal. And again, you can only carry a limited number of potions. It's not like Dragon Age Origins where you can just stock up if you know if something's going to be tough. You can only carry, to begin with, I think it's 8 potions, and I think you can upgrade to 12. You can also upgrade potions. You can unlock new potions, both offensive and defensive. But the point is that you're limited in your stock, and if you run into an extended session where you get into tough fights and stuff, you backtracking. It's artificially extending the game, and you're just literally retracing your steps, running back what you've been through, and that's not fun. There's no reason for it either, in my opinion, because it's literally, what's your option? It's either, okay, take on the challenge, which I guess is what they were trying to get you to do, or teleport back and then run back to where you were, which is boring and annoying. So, I don't know. I don't agree with that, though I've probably spent as much time complaining about it now as I did actually having it be a problem in the game. There's just things like that kind of, I feel like maybe they should have taken a closer look at, just for the sake of it being a little more accessible and fun. But that's neither here nor there. Good game, anyway.
Yeah.
The story is fantastic. If you like RPGs, you need to play the game. That's all there is to it.
Very cool, man.
I could talk about it for hours, but stop me.
Yeah, I guess we better move on here. But, yeah, man, eventually it'd be great to stream that game. I know we don't really have the means to do it right now, but
yeah,
in the future, I'm sure it's something we'll stream as we talk.
Yeah, that's something I definitely would like to do in the future. Anyway, I'm going to restart Sonic Adventure.
That sounds like a plan, man. While you do that, I guess I will talk a little bit about WWE 2K15.
Please do. Inform me about this year's game.
So, WWE 2K15 is it's a mixed bag. Like, it's definitely not as good as WWE 2K14. And there's a variety of reasons. It just feels like it's not as robust as last year's game. The creative mode is severely lacking, man. I mean, they've taken so much out of that.
It seemed like that was your big complaint.
Yeah, it's definitely my big complaint. The universe mode, it works all right. Graphically, I will say the game looks stunning. I mean, it moves at 60 frames per second I'm playing the PS4 edition. I don't know about the Xbox One. The controls, it controls a little bit differently. It's made to simulate more of a realistic WWE pace. I don't like that as much as the arcade, kind of arcadey WWE 2K14. But I understand why they're going with this, and there's some cool things that go along with it, like the way the match flows. You'll get tired.
Wow.
What happened?
Okay, the game is still making sound effects even with it off. Okay, I've got to stream something else. Go ahead.
Oh, all right. Wow. So this was Sonic.
Yeah, the game is straight up broken in terms of its sound effects. Awesome. Good job.
Man, that's awful.
Yeah, well, go ahead.
The roster, it's like up to date, but for example, Seth Rollins, Roman Reigns, and Dean Ambrose are no longer part of the Shield, and you don't have their updated entrances or attire or anything like that, so that's disappointing. There's just a lot of little missing things, like Stone Cold Steve Austin, when he makes his entrance, he comes out without his leather vest, which just seems like a huge oversight, Like, that's something he always wears when he comes to the ring, so...
It's kind of weird.
Yeah. A lot of moves are gone now. The story mode this year, you've got the feud between CM Punk and John Cena. And some of those matches, I don't know, man, like, basically within those matches you have to do certain things in order to trigger the story moments, right? Um, but some of the stuff, I'm trying to think of a good example, and one doesn't come to mind right off, but some of the stuff they want you to do just seems really irritating, and the computer just seems to go out of its way to not allow you to do that, and so sometimes it can be a bit frustrating. And there's no checkpoint, so a lot of times if you fail, that's it. You got to start the whole match over again. Like, sorry.
Yeah, that seems like it would get irritating real fast.
Yeah, it's like, man, I tried to play this match 3 times. This is absurd, Let's see, there's... It's just such a mixed bag, Oh, what was another... There was another big point I wanted to hit, and now I'm just totally drawing a blank now that we're doing the show.
Kind of like me when I was just umming and awing.
Yeah, that's what I get for not, writing this stuff down properly.
Who writes shit down? Don't be stupid.
Yeah, I know. But, yeah, man, it is a playable, finished WWE game, and you know what? It's better than some WWE games in the past, my God, the WWE game for the GameCube back in the day was horrible. Like WWE Reckoning or whatever.
Yeah.
I think it was WWF back then, Day of Reckoning. Anyway, that game sucked. So it's fine. If I was going to score it, I would probably give it a 7 out of 10. It's playable. It's still enjoyable. It's just not the very large package that we've gotten, and
Oh yeah, very large package.
I like where this is going.
Which is funny because I
Giggity,
just
giggity.
watched a very short Let's Play for some weird game called Bone Town. Apparently, instead of a level, what you have is a scrotum size or a ball size. So the whole point of the game
Wow.
is to get bigger balls so that more women will sleep with you. But you also have to meet certain criteria, or else you blow your load too quickly. It is very strange.
That is odd.
That sounds pretty
Yes.
strange. I'm not gonna lie. Hey guys, the speedrunners.
And not even a
Hey.
little sexist.
Speedrunners.
No.
No
I mean,
sex is here.
No,
Come on.
I mean that seems perfectly forthright to me.
Should we play some Cook Serve Delicious while you try to talk while you're playing?
I
Cook
actually
Serve
joked
Delicious?
about that. It's funny that you mentioned that. I don't remember any of the controls in this game because I played it once. That was real bad.
Either that or
Looks like you're doing pretty good to me, man.
I lived.
maybe I should play Democracy. Let's play of Democracy. Just running back, people be like, "What the hell is this?"
People would be like, "Okay, I have no idea what's going on."
Probably.
But he's just looking at numbers and clicking things. and
Exactly.
clicking
Please
text here.
explain anything about what you're doing right now.
We don't know. Can't understand.
I can't
But,
understand either way.
Sorry, WWE.
WWE, yeah. I think I've pretty much said it 4 times now. It's sort of a mixed bag. I would not buy it new. Unless you're like me, and you're just a huge wrestling fan, you shouldn't spend $60 on this.
Can you
for
do
it
the
to-
red arrow?
You can do the red arrow. That's actually on my little alien dude that I made.
Do the red
Saw that,
arrow.
and I was
What?
like, Jesus Christ! It's a corkscrew shooting star press.
Oh,
It's
okay.
it's done by Adrian Neville, formerly known as Pac on the
Right.
Independents.
Man,
And,
I don't even know that.
Adam posted on
jeez.
Rare Drop staff. Actually, you should just check out that move, man. It's absurdly ridiculous.
No, I saw it because I was
Oh.
listening to the Spooty one talk about NXT, which he apparently really likes. He thinks it's a lot better than Raw. And he was talking about one of the things that he really likes about NXT, and he was just citing this as one of those minor examples of how they've sort of written it, is that nobody breaks out of the red arrow. The only time that he can think of that that the red arrow didn't work was the one time he missed it. Somebody got out of the way and he ended up landing without actually hitting the red arrow, but he's never actually in a pay-per-view or otherwise landed the red arrow and had it fail. And he was complaining that in a lot of pay-per-views,
Spoonie complaining? Say it ain't so.
Well, no, what he's saying is he feels like there's a there. And I think it's a legitimate thing to say. He feels like
I know, I'm just
pay-per-views can
Spoony
sort of
complains
just
about everything, though.
Indeed, but indeed, and this is, I mean, saying he's complaining about this while he was praising NXT. He was using NXT as a context to sort of complain about Raw.
Yeah. Exactly.
So I mean, but this being said, that he's talking about how much he likes this product, and where he thinks like the mainstream WWE could take notes from this.
Yeah.
Is that he's when you're watching a pay-per-view, which they're not called pay-per-views anymore, right? They're called special events. There's no reason to get excited the first time somebody does their finishing move, because it's a pay-per-view. You're pretty much always guaranteed one kick out,
unless it's the squash match of the pay-per-view.
Most of the
basically.
time,
if you're the poor guy booked for that, then maybe not.
Well, he's just saying that they've worked up the Red Arrow so effectively that, like, the first time somebody kicks out of it, it's going to be a huge fucking deal. Like, oh my god, somebody kicked out of the Red Arrow.
Yeah.
it's good booking. And you know who I have heard is booking NXT?
Who's that?
Triple
Vince Russo?
H.
Really?
Triple H. Yeah, I
Triple
heard the
H.
same thing.
Which is kind of crazy, but yeah, man, I don't watch Raw these days.
Oh.
One, because we don't have cable here, and two, because it's just not very entertaining television anymore. So I would just rather watch these special events, if you will, and watch old wrestling at this point.
You
But-
idiot! You paid $50 for this. You could have gotten it for $9.99 on the WWE Network.
That's pretty much what they said.
That's funny.
Like, you gave us $50 for this shit? What's wrong with you?
Seriously.
Apparently, the new NXT pay-per-view is really good. I haven't watched it yet. Adrian
Oh,
Neville
boy.
actually loses the NXT title on that, which makes me think that he's finally being called up to the main roster. Like, man, it's about time.
Well,
But-
that's what he was talking about with Spoonie. He was saying that he didn't really like it, but he was also lamenting that any of these guys would get called up to the main roster. He's like, they're not going to be allowed to do what makes them great here. And he's afraid they're also going to move them up to the main roster and be like, hey, enjoy jobbing into the mid-card for, like, months on end before they decide to do anything with you.
Yeah. We'll talk more about current WWE a little bit later in the show, because
Yeah, sounds good.
we have some more wrestling-related stuff. Another thing I've been playing, and I'll just mention this briefly because we're spent way too much time in this section.
That's my fault.
That's all good.
I'll try to be quick with mine.
No. Take your time, man.
I think it's called Rodina. I'm assuming that's how it's pronounced. And it is basically Elder Scrolls meets space. You are you have your own ship.
Oh.
Like, literally the game starts out at a title screen. You click play, and there's no loading or anything. It goes right into the game. Like, you're peering out into the galaxy on this asteroid, basically, and then you start looking around, and you got this waypoint. The waypoint leads you to your ship, and you go inside what is your ship, and then you can pilot it, of course. And what's just amazing about this game to me is that you can land on pretty much anything. You can land on asteroids. You can visit all these various planets. You're entering into the atmosphere, which is just amazing. Of course, you've got your spaceship battles. The only thing about this game, now it's on Steam, and I think it's like $14 or $15.
Is it early access?
It's
or-
early access.
Okay, that's why I
It's-
don't know about it.
It's still in development now. There's a demo that you can play, and I feel like you have to probably be, interested in sci-fi or Star
yeah.
Trek to
I
kind
mean,
of,
if it's a spaceship game, yeah.
yeah, to like really appreciate it. But man, like, just the feeling you get of like the vastness of this galaxy is incredible. There's just so much potential from this game. Of course, there's the other game coming out. It's like called
No Man's Sky, right?
Yeah, No Man's Sky, and it
Yeah.
kind of reminds me of what I hope that game is going to be. And this game is still rough around the edges, but man, like, you can really see the potential. And
So, like, how is combat? Is it any good?
yeah, the combat
Or-
is good. Right now, they don't have like first-person combat. Apparently, later they want to get to where you have some weapons and things like that. But the spaceship combat is good, and once you get the hang of shifting the ship speeds, it just works really well. And I mean, man, like the first time I played the demo, I think I posted something on Twitter like, "Man, this is the coolest game I have played in a long time," and it really is just an incredible experience because I have never. I shouldn't say never, but I haven't played a game since Morrowind. Was it Morrowind for the Xbox 360?
Morrowind was for Xbox.
Okay, what was the next game?
Skyrim.
No, there was one before that.
Oblivion,
right?
sorry.
Oblivion, okay. So I have not felt like this since I played Oblivion, just in awe of a game, and its world, so to anyone who's interested in some space movies and sci-fi and stuff, I recommend you try the demo and, of course, know that it's still in development. It's still far from completion. But if you're interested, of course, buying it helps the development of the game. So, yeah, I'm sure I'll be talking more about this one, and at some point I would like to play it on here, too. So, that'll be cool. So, man, there's a lot of action going on here. What game is this again, Andrew?
Oh, this is Speedrunners, and I joined a multiplayer match and instantly got my ass served. So you guys can, enjoy that.
Hey, man.
These two guys playing now, not me. I'm dead.
You're doing what you can.
That's right.
Doing what you can.
I don't know
But,
how to...
That's
I'm not good,
effective. You're just
basically.
letting them podcast or do the Let's Play for us.
Exactly.
Oh, that's right.
Thanks.
Absolutely. Oops.
Thanks, guys. So, Adam, have you been playing anything in particular?
Well, we got issue 10 in the Secret World.
Oh, that came out.
Yes, which is I'm going to say it was actually it certainly made a better impression than issue 9. Although I think the reason issue 9 now that I've been basically they expanded Kaiden, which is the zone in Tokyo. We don't know if it's going to be the only zone in Tokyo yet, or if Tokyo is going to have multiple zones, but. When issue 9 first released, it was the first introduction to Tokyo, and it was so bare bones that it just didn't make a good impression. And over the past couple of months, things have really improved. I mean, they added side stories to it. They've kind of fleshed some things out. They've tinkered with some of the mechanics and the cost of some of the items so that things seem a little bit more reasonable. So Tokyo is starting to become a fun place. In issue 9, in issue 10, we actually got the second part of the Aegis system, where now instead of just punching through barriers, we now have barriers of our own. So we have the technology to give ourselves shields that help against certain enemies, which is nice. And the story modes, while of course, or the story mode itself in issue 10. Again, it's reasonably short. I mean, it's the kind of thing you can play through in an afternoon, as all of the issues have been. But it was good. It was fun to do. They had a couple of really atmospheric sections. The kinds of things you're not necessarily going to mind replaying a couple of times for the Tokyo grind. But so while that's nice, I have to say I was actually voicing to the people that I play with today, though, a bit of a fear about the game. Mm-hmm. Is I'm starting to worry that this game is becoming a house of cards that's eventually going to become so top heavy it might crumble under its own weight.
What do you mean?
And the thing is, okay, so if I wanted to explain to new players coming in, they're like, all right, so what have I got to do once I start getting to the end game? I have to explain that what used to be the end game isn't the end game anymore, despite the fact that, it isn't like an expansion on World of Warcraft where you just kind of, now there's a new end game. It's more like, no. So when you got to the end game, what you used to do when I first started playing was...
Nightmares, right?
Yeah, you did nightmares until you got your gear. And then once you got your gear, you started thinking about maybe doing the raid to get slightly better gear. And if you were, going for really hardcore where you wanted to be especially effective, you were working on your signets. You were basically saving up packs to purchase signets, or you were, doing various things that you could do to grind in, like the layers, which were optional, and not necessary to get what you wanted, but that's what you did. I was like, oh, okay. So, all right, cool. So we've got the end game is essentially doing nightmares and just kind of working on this bit of gear. That's fine. And then they added the augment system. Andrew's having a lot of fun on this speed run.
I pushed the taunt button twice and died twice.
Whoops.
Oh, I don't know how to play. I don't know the controls. Go ahead.
No, that's fine. So then they added the augment system.
Oh my god.
So now it's like, all right, so now what do I do at the end game? Well, at the end game, and bearing in mind, each time they add one of these things, this is just another thing that a player has to buy. Because that's their business model. It's an understandable business model, but it does mean like you either have to become a grand one of their lifetime subscribers, and then use your bonus points every month to unlock new content, or you just buy tough it out and spend $10 every time you want access to new stuff.
Yeah, but you're already a lifetime member, right?
Yeah. So that's not been a huge deal for me. But I can see it being a problem for other players. Now it's like, all right, no. So at the end game, when you're not doing your nightmare dungeons, you got to start working on doing your scenarios, because the augment system it improves your performance so much, especially since they kind of reconfigured the in-game content with the with the nightmares, while taking the effect of the augment system into consideration, meaning that you can't be as effective as you once were before they introduced the augment system without actually going and getting the augments.
Oh, that's kind of bullshit.
This is the weakest part of the game, too, because it is easily the most grindtastic thing, and it's based entirely on random drops.
And there's a lot of grinding in that game already.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's an end game. I don't really mind there being grinds at end games. That's what all MMOs are essentially going to come down to.
It's all about keeping the players doing something.
And that right there is one of my problems with MMOs, man.
No,
you don't have to play.
I don't have a problem with
it.
it.
I enjoyed SWTOR a lot, and I gave up on the end game there real quick. So
No,
you can enjoy an MMO and not really worry about the end game.
Yeah, I mean, you got a game, and you're trying to, and I mean, it's the kind of game where you're trying to have players cooperate with one another, and you need to have something to give them to do, and you can't build content faster than players can do it. So inevitably, you're going to have to design some kind of grind in order to give the players, you're going to have to create systems that are going to take the players months to complete.
Yeah, I just don't like grinding,
It's fine. It's not for everybody, and I think the thing about the Secret World was especially with the Nightmares, is that the content was really enjoyable. I didn't mind doing it over and over again.
Right.
I generally don't mind doing it over and over again, with the exception of the scenarios, which is how you get your augments, because the scenarios are like soul crushingly. It's just, oh my god, I'm doing this again.
Yeah, I mean, they're fun the first little bit, but the thing is, you got to keep doing them and keep doing it and keep doing them. And they're not content like the Nightmares, which are extremely they're team oriented, and you got to really coordinate it.
I mean, you can coordinate with the Nightmares too, or with the scenarios too. It's just
but
that
you don't have to, and they're not as. They're not produced
diverse
in that kind of fashion, like the boss. You're going to have those interesting bosses and that kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly. So the Nightmare dungeons are diverse and interesting. They tend to have different feels. A lot of times, you use different setups for the Nightmares, and the bosses have their own mechanics and interesting quirks and things. You have sort of these style bosses that have the same sort of quirks, or they have their own quirks. And it's just not as interesting, it's just not as interesting as scenarios, because they don't have the ability, or they don't really have the freedom to do it. No. Nightmares is where it's good. The scenarios where they're introducing these little bosses at the end of each wave, they're just not as interesting.
Yeah.
Largely just because of what is, and it doesn't help that the scenarios were intended to have multiple different scenario types, and since it's released last November, it's been seek and preserve the entire time. It's been
which is ridiculous.
Go collect survivors and defend them for like 20 minutes. And by the way, when you get up into the higher difficulties, be prepared to be at the mercy of the RNG, because the RNG can and will fuck you. I mean, it's just because they've got like a series of hazards that can happen to you, and like a series of different kinds of monsters that have different abilities that can appear, and some of the hazards when combined with certain types of monsters make winning without losing anybody really, really like frustratingly difficult. And it doesn't help that the higher difficulties, they expect you to get gold for some things in order to get certain achievements. But, so that's easily the weakest part of the game. The scenarios, I think, are almost universally considered the weakest part of the game. But still, though, we've got, you've got the nightmare grind, you've got the scenario grind, and now, then you can, if you want to, you can consider the signets a kind of grind, and you can consider the raid a kind of grind. But now we've got Tokyo, and Tokyo is once again another kind of grind because they've introduced the Aegis system, which is kind of a lateral. It's a kind of lateral progression where you go and you play Tokyo to get better at playing Tokyo. It's not going to make you any better at playing any of the content that came before Tokyo. And I understand what they're doing here is they're trying to prevent, like a kind of gear lift off, because they've already got power creep. But
they're trying to prevent it from, getting worse.
Getting completely out of hand, right? Because if they give you much more vertical progression, it will just utterly trivialize certain nightmare dungeons, which are already basically trivialized, but it'll make it so absurd. Defeating it will be beyond easy. Like I could start to see it get to a point where people are like, where you can have people who aren't even that into the game, like, we should 2 or 3 man this. Why not? Which, granted, I've 3-manned several bosses, and Nightmares, a lot of them are quite 3-manable. But, so I understand that. It's just now it's like, okay, so the end game is now Nightmares, raids, scenarios, signets, and Tokyo. And by the way, the developers obviously designed Tokyo with the understanding that people who are doing Tokyo are Nightmare players. And a lot of people, when they get into an MMO and they say, no, the dungeons have 3 different settings. They've got normal, they've got elite, and they've got nightmare. They're assuming nightmares are probably for the hardcore players. Not anymore. Like like if you want to continue playing like the story of the game, you got to go do those nightmares. Or you're going to have a really rough time in Tokyo. You're not really going to be able to progress that easily.
Which is a really weird design decision.
I think it was a weird design decision. It's just that now, with Tokyo and the Aegis system, now the Aegis system already has 2 layers. And apparently there are more layers coming. And it's just like, wow, like, this is fine for me because I've been playing the game for a long time. So by the time they introduce a new mechanic, I'm comfortable enough with the old mechanics that assimilating this new information is not difficult.
Right. It's just a matter of, for players who aren't like you. And
they still introduce all of these mechanics gradually to players who are just being exposed to them, which is fine, but they're going to get exposed to it much faster than I was. And like I said, I'm really worried that this is going to create like a barrier of entry for people who are going to like get to this point in the game and say, the holy God, this thing just keeps getting more and more complicated. Like, they're going to look at this situation. They're going to be playing with people who've been playing the game for a long time, who have got, like, full purple signets and, like, full 10-5 gear, and they've got all this weird shit, and they've leveled up all their Aegis, and it's just going to be like, yeah, you've got, like, I know that you got to Transylvania, and you're like, oh, now I get to go to Tokyo. It's like, well, no, you got to do your scenarios first. It's like, okay, well, I did the scenarios, now I'm going to Tokyo. It's like, yeah, but, I mean, now you're really far behind because you haven't been grinding Nightmares. They just, like, I can see this getting overwhelming to somebody who's gotten to this point and being like, holy shit, I have got a lot to do.
Yeah.
Maybe some people love it. That's the thing. Like, I don't know. I guess it depends on, like, how easily overwhelmed you feel with this. But, I don't think it helps.
It depends on how strongly someone wants to commit to the game, too,
Yeah, and like I said, for me, this actually works out just fine because I've been here since like 6 months after the game launched, and I've seen, these rollouts have come months separated from one another. But I don't know. Like I said, it makes me worry about the long-term prospects of the game when I see that.
Yeah.
But all this being said, I'm saying this as a matter of concern because Tokyo is actually looking pretty good. I've been enjoying Tokyo now. It took it a little while, but I've been enjoying it, and I hope that it remains an experience that's accessible to other players. Besides that, I also found a really interesting like game on the tablet called 2048, which is all about powers of two, basically.
Huh.
It's this
So-
weird puzzle game where it will randomly spawn either a 2 or a 4 somewhere on the board, and the board is like a, what is it? It's like a 5x5 grid, and whenever you swipe left or right, like all of the tiles will move that direction. And if a 2 collides with a 2, it becomes a 4. If a 4 collides with a 4, it becomes an 8. If an 8 collides with an 8, it becomes a 16. So only matching numbers can combine to become a larger number. And the idea of the game is that, oh, well, you can, if you get to 2048, you win.
Wow.
So I actually, I think I almost got really close the other day, but then, like, my brain reflexively did something that I knew I didn't want to do. But, like, my wife was watching me do it, and she's like, well, you're doing really good. And I was like, oh, this is really good. I've got a 1024 on the board. I've got a 512 on the board, which means that I'm close to getting to the end, because all I've got to do is get another 512 to make that last 512 a 1024, and then I can combine those and make a 2048, and then I've won the game.
Math.
And not exactly. I mean, it kind of is, but
That's what I said too. I
it's
was like,
it's math.
math.
It's
no.
math.
I mean, you don't have to know. You don't have to understand the powers of two to play the game at all. But
I mean, I get what you're saying. I'm just saying, like, it seems very appropriate for you. That's really what I'm getting at.
it was just one of those things where I was looking, and then I made this wrong move, and I went. My wife was like, "Oh, do you not want to do that?" I was like, "Oh no, I just screwed up bad." And a couple moves later, like I lost. I knew when I did it. Like, it wasn't like it was one of these situations where I'd kind of figured out an algorithm where I could keep the tiles that I needed close together, and I had this little situation set up and it was working out really well for me. I mean, just to give you some context, once I figured this out and was executing it properly, my top score went from like 6,000 to 17,000.
Oh, wow.
And then I messed up that one move. I was like, I was right there. I was like a couple minutes. The problem is that the way that I was doing this, and I don't know that this is how you have to do it, but the way that I was doing this, it would make me nervous because I'd always have to make myself, or I'd have to get myself progressively closer and closer to losing the game in order to make the board fill out the way I wanted it to. So basically, it looked like I was about to lose, and then all of a sudden, a couple of swipes later, I'd have a board that was almost clear.
Oh, wow.
So it was, yeah, and the closer I got to 2048, the closer, the worse it looked. And the thing is, I think that I was, like, within, like, 2 or 3 minutes of having beaten the game, and I just got a little overzealous and made a one wrong move and realized that I was screwed. Because it basically put a tile in a location that was going to be damn near impossible to effectively get it out of that location, and it just cascaded from there and ruined my board. I was very sad.
I'm sad for you, man.
Anyway, yep, that's what I've been playing. Sorry, yeah, we've been on this subject. We've been on this, what we've been playing for a while now, so we should move on.
Word? Hello?
So do we have
Jason?
news items?
Jason!
Can you hear me?
There you
yeah,
are.
there you are.
Okay. I think I had my mic muted.
I thought you hadn't said anything in a really long time.
Yeah, sorry
But-
about that. I have a bad habit of this. But, yeah, briefly, Adam and I watched Snowpiercer, and that was interesting. I think I liked it a little bit more than Adam did.
So, straight up, was it a bad movie, or was it just weird?
It was
Because
weird.
you like bad movies.
I do like some bad movies. I would say this is more just weird.
Okay.
Okay, I think I can give a review of this in like 4 sentences.
All right.
It was really strange.
Okay.
In some ways, it was like The Matrix.
Yes.
It's not a bad movie. I didn't like it.
Okay.
Fair enough.
That's pretty
And
concise.
I would say all those things, except
You
I
didn't like
think
it.
I liked it.
You think you liked it. I kind of like that a lot.
I mean, it's one of those things where I'm like, yeah, like, I didn't mind that film at all. I don't know if I'll ever go back and watch it again, but there's a lot of people who are singing this movie's praises, and I'm like, yeah, it's good, but it's, it's not some life-changing experience.
Yeah.
On the other hand, Guardians of the Galaxy, which I know...
Oh, you finally watched it.
Yes, I know, Adam, you talked about a lot. Man, it's great. That movie is outstanding.
Yeah, it's a very fun film.
I've heard
It
a
is.
lot of people talking about that movie.
Somebody made, I thought, a very apt comparison.
Oh.
They said it's like this generation's Ghostbusters, and I'm like, oh, yep, that's pretty apt.
Yeah, I could
Ah.
see that.
That's
I can see
definitely
that.
pretty high praise right there.
I was saying it's an action comedy, and it's really not trying to be anything more than an action comedy, and it really works in its favor.
Yeah, I really liked it. I was amazed at actually how good Batista was in it.
Like, the movie's not begging you to take it seriously, and
Right.
I think sometimes that can work to some comic book movies' detriment. Like, I don't mind serious comic book movies, but a lot of them seem to have, like, gotten to the point where they, like, really, really want you to, like, get invested in the melodrama of it. I don't, and I don't say melodrama as a pejorative. Like, I like superhero movies. And
Oh yeah, I do too.
get annoyed with people who can be somewhat pretentious about it. Be like, they're not real art. It's like,
Oh,
well,
no.
it's like I'm not watching it for real art. I appreciate real art, but I'm watching this to be entertained. It's
Right.
fine to enjoy things in these sort of like microcosms. But
So relax there, Stefan.
yeah, but with Guardians of the Galaxy, it's not asking you to get horribly invested in like the melodrama of it. It's just a good, fun, and funny movie.
Indeed, totally. I
Oh,
I
what a
liked it a lot.
swing!
And there will probably be another Guardians of the Galaxy, I'm gonna say.
Oh God, yes. That was their
Considering-
most successful franchise launch since Marvel Studios was created.
Yeah.
Ah, nice.
Considering the positive word on it is basically everywhere, they would be crazy not to.
Yeah, they really would.
I do want to add this one thing about Snowpiercer, just as a slight, I want to explain, one thing. And I know I've got kind of a reputation amongst the people who know me for picking things apart, which is funny because I mostly pick things apart just because I think it's kind of funny to think about these things or entertained to think about these things, but I don't normally mean them as a problem with the movie. Like I pointed out a problem shortly after I saw the Avengers for the first time. Since people should have seen this movie by now, I don't mind spoiling it. When Tony Stark goes up through the wormhole, and then throws the nuke back up at the alien spaceship, he then falls back to the planet. And when this happened, I was thinking to myself, what's he falling into? Did the gravitational well of the Earth come through the wormhole with him? And even at that, it still looks like he's pretty far away from it. How is he falling back into the... But, this is the kind of thing where it's I thought about it during the film, but I really didn't care. It was just
Right.
one of these things where it was fine. Whether or not, I can create an excuse for it one way or the other, but it would be an acceptable break from reality. I really enjoyed Interstellar. And there are some things in Interstellar that are okay, that's probably not how that would really work, but it's a completely acceptable break from reality.
Yeah.
The problem that I had with
science fiction.
the problem that I had with Snowpiercer is I had a really hard time, and this was actually a similar problem that I had with the Hunger Games, was that they were asking me to believe an awful lot to the point where it was getting difficult for me to suspend my disbelief.
Yeah.
I'm perfectly
yeah.
willing to suspend my disbelief, but sometimes there are things that are happening. I'm just really?
Sometimes you shake your head, yeah.
We
I
were
just got
asking,
so many questions about this.
We were asking some of the same questions as we were watching Snowpiercer, I mean, and I don't usually ask a ton of questions when I watch films. I just kind of enjoy it for what it is. But yeah, they do ask you to believe a whole lot in this film and just accept all that as fact,
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, does anyone here? I don't think either of you have seen The Hunger Games, but do either of you mind me spoiling it?
No.
No, I don't care.
So the thing that made me go, "Oh my God!" in the Hunger Games, and I've only seen the first film and I've not read the books, is there's a point where, and I understand that this is not really what the movie's going for, but it made it difficult for me to accept what was happening on the screen. This civilization, basically is capable of spontaneously generating full complex organisms that apparently have things like agency and biology out of thin air. Like, they've got technology that can assemble never before seen organic animals out of thin air. That's not my problem. My problem with it is that they are able to do that, and yet simultaneously the culture that has achieved this insanely remarkable technological feat entertains themselves by trapping children and teenagers into a death game and broadcasting it across television as if they're playing American Idol. Like, these are two disparate elements of this culture that I cannot parse, because the thing about it is, if we look at the history of human cultures, the cultures that are hugely barbaric generally lag behind the cultures that become more altruistic and unite to achieve feats of technology. Now, I don't want to state that, with complete, like, obviously you're going to find exceptions to this, but it is to say that the cultures that tend to excel are not eating their own in this way.
Right. I get what you're saying.
Yeah, I don't know, the whole situation. I was just in here going like, I sort of, it was very strange to me.
I've
they've
seen the
achieved
first
this, and they
one.
still want to watch kids kill each other. It was
Yeah, I didn't really get into it, but my wife really likes the Hunger Games films, so there you go.
And I understand that's not the point of the Hunger Games. The Hunger Games is supposed to be like a metaphor for, like the class warfare in the modern age and things like that. So I understand it. It was just this it took me right out of the movie when that happened.
Yeah.
You have got to be shitting me.
Yeah, I felt the same way about it. But hey, guys, how about that Assassin's Creed Unity game, right?
Yeah, that game is fucking broke.
Yeah, I want to play the other one, the one that's supposed to be a sequel to Black Flag.
Yeah, I'm looking for that one too, man. Where is it?
What's it called? It's called something else.
It's called Not Available.
Well, no, it's already released. I think, didn't they release it? It's supposed to be like a small side game.
Oh, you're talking about the DLC game.
I don't
Unity?
know what you're talking about. No, Unity's the new one.
is the new one.
The one that's broken. That
Yeah,
it's basically just an internet joke at this point.
Yeah, I thought you meant like, where is Assassin's Creed Black Flag 2? And I'm like, yeah, I wish I knew. Unfortunately, this has been going on a lot lately, man. Like, games are coming out and they're just broken.
Yep, this Halo Master Chief Collection completely fucking broke, apparently.
The new Sonic game, Sega's Sonic Boom.
Oh, I didn't even hear about that one. Little Big Planet 3 had some problems on release.
Yep.
Yeah. You know what's funny is among that, like, Dragon Age Inquisition actually was pretty good in that respect, despite, how ridiculously huge it is.
Which, hey, man, kudos to BioWare for making that happen.
It just goes to show, man. Take the time you need on your damn game. BioWare learned their lesson with Dragon Age 2 in that respect, I think. If nothing else, in terms of, like, how people complain about the art assets. But anyway, these companies really need to get their shit together and stop just trying to make a buck on the holiday and,
I'm
do it right,
so
basically.
glad that I did not pay $60 for this game.
I'm really glad you didn't either, because I'd have been like, oh, man.
Because at the time, I was pretty darn excited about it.
Yeah, you were talking it up on the show.
Yep. I was like, man, this one looks great. Like, and they've made all these cool corrections, and all that would have been great if it had worked. But, I mean, just, oh my god, man. Like, some of the videos that have been released of the game just breaking are unbelievable. Not to mention, the PC version is so poorly optimized. It is insane.
Assassin's Creed Rogue.
Never even heard of it.
Is that an actual sequel to Black Flag, though?
Assassin's Creed Rogue is a 2014 historical fiction action-adventure open-world stealth video game developed by Ubisoft Sofia and published by Ubisoft as the 8th major installment in Assassin's Creed. Let's see.
What is it, like?
I mean, it's basically just for the last
iOS?
generation of consoles.
The game was first released on PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360 in November and December of this year, and will later be made available for Microsoft Windows in 2015.
Right. But I don't
That's
think it has. I don't think it has anything to do with Black Flag.
Actually, no. It's supposed to act as a sequel.
Huh. Okay. Well.
I mean,
I
if
had
you
no
go
clue.
look at if you even go look at like the cover, it's a pirate-looking guy in front of a ship with red sails.
Well, it's got to be a hell of a lot better than Unity at this point, which, I mean, you know, if they can eventually patch this thing, I'm sure it'll be a perfectly workable game, but
I wouldn't
my-
even say that, man. If a game is, like, broken to a point upon release, it may never be a perfectly working game, you know?
I hope they can get it working, but, you know,
Like,
The fact of the
maybe it
matter
will,
is-
and hopefully it will, but I wouldn't say it will be. It's
yeah.
like,
Yeah.
maybe.
I mean, I feel like it's really horrible to release an unfinished product.
Yeah, like, this isn't freaking
this,
Steam
it's-
Early Access, guys. This is not your fucking beta testing phase. This is, like, commercial release. Come
You know,
on.
like-
what is
like-
with 2014 and publishers just not caring, apparently?
You know,
Honestly, I think the development and the marketing have just gotten so big. You know, I posted a story about this.
You
back
did.
when it's first released. I think it's they're becoming very ambitious in what they want to do, but they're also so large that you've probably got a lot of input from different people. And because of like the marketing schemes and like the corporate timeline set up for these things,
Yep.
they're probably basically working on hard deadlines where it's
Yeah.
not like they have a lot of freedom to say like, hey guys, this isn't really ready to be published yet. And they're like, well, it doesn't matter. It's got to come out in 3 weeks. It's like,
Yeah.
so get it working in 3 weeks.
it may have actually been in that story you posted, Adam, where they talked about how Halo Master Chief Collection had a date set before the game was even announced.
Yeah, I
Which
don't know
is-
that they said that, but they didn't talk about the game in there and how it shipped with basically an unworkable online,
Which is-
like just a completely broken online
In a
feature.
freaking Halo game. Not even
I mean-
a Halo game, like 3 Halo games. It's like,
These
Yeah, I
are-
don't
what?
think people even play the Halo story anymore. I think it's on there, but people just do it to just do the PvP.
Yeah, a lot of people, that's what they get it for, which, you know, I don't get that, but hey, to each their own.
Well, I
you
mean,
know.
a lot of people love their, multiplayer shooting gaming.
They do.
We did
I mean,
when we were in
it's-
high school.
Yeah, we did.
We're just, kind of in a different place now.
Yeah.
I don't know. I played it because everybody else did.
I loved it back in the day, honestly. But
And I enjoyed
I-
enjoyed playing with everybody, but FPSs have never really been my thing.
I had
I mean,
a lot of
now-
fun.
I like an FPS when it can also tell a very good story, but there again, I don't know that I would say any of the Halo games have great stories.
Yeah, the thing is,
Uh,
I've heard that Halo has a pretty interesting extended universe, but you would never know it from the games. So, I don't know.
It doesn't
And
really
I-
show in the games.
Yeah, and I don't really care to read books about Halo. I don't know.
Yeah.
God,
I
no.
feel the same.
And
So
they're out there, people read them, but just not us.
I mean, I got to be honest. I've never felt any compunction to read any kind of book that was based on a video game franchise.
I wanted to read the Mass Effect books. Not anymore. I don't really care anymore.
yeah, I don't blame you there.
I don't know. I don't know. I'm not sure for me that that's the best medium to be translating into books.
Yeah, it's really not because the problem with video game stories is they're getting close, but they're still not really where movie storylines are.
Oh
or
yeah, I mean,
television storylines.
Well, I don't think that they are really going to get there, nor should they try to be. I think that the method of storytelling has just got to be so different that you're
Yeah.
trying to make a movie.
Well, I mean, it has to lead to an action set piece, right? But there again, you have games like the Walking Dead game that. I mean, yeah, there's some action in there, but really the big draw of those games is the dialogue
narrative,
and the
yeah.
story. Which, I mean, I think video games can be used for that, and the Walking Dead game shows that.
yeah. Telltale in general. I mean, that's what they do,
Yeah. Speaking of which,
Yeah, I
you
mean,
have the
I don't
Game of
mean to
Thrones
sug-
game out.
Oh
I don't
yeah,
mean
I
to
forgot about
suggest. So I don't mean to suggest that the stories can't be good. I'm just saying I don't think that a video game story should try to be a movie story.
that. Yeah, I mean,
Well, yeah, I mean, you don't want to strive for it to be, but you always want to strive for good, strong narrative tales.
I mean, it really
right?
depends on what your goal is with the game, right? Like, you may want to have a really strong narrative focus. You may want to get people invested in your characters, blah blah blah. Or you may just want a game that's very, very focused on gameplay. Like what I'm playing right now. Speedrunners does not need a gripping narrative. It needs
No.
an excuse for me to jump around and dodge lasers. So
It's funny. This kind of harkens back to a conversation we had on the Lost podcast.
It kind of does, actually. Yeah, you're right. And I totally misinterpreted what you were saying, and it sounded like a douchebag.
Yeah, well, it's all good because now
I wouldn't go that far, but okay.
Now that
Oh,
podcast does
y-
not exist.
That's true. That
Just
podcast is
gone.
a thing of
Gone.
the past, and I'm gonna die. Bye, guys. It's been fun. The bomb exploded.
And peace out. But yeah, I mean,
Doing-
what can game companies do to prevent these kinds of things from happening?
Well,
you
I
know?
mean, if you're a developer working for a big publisher, not much, really, right? I mean, if you're an independent studio, it's on you.
I mean, I think the key is that these studios, or rather the publishers, need to be willing to say, all right, this game is delayed. I mean,
They need to be able to, but, like, are they realistically going to do that when, they're looking at their sales figures and they're thinking, okay, well, this is not going to hit what we predicted.
yeah, but I think it really hurts the overall industry because,
It does.
I mean, yes, Christmas is a big time of the year, but honestly, if Assassin's Creed came out in July instead of December or November, it would still do gangbusters.
It would do well, but it wouldn't do as well. And the bigger point is I think it does damage to, like, those franchises when they
It
release
does.
them. Which kind of, like, it's a short-sighted way for them to think in that respect, because then maybe someone who would have bought next year's game says, I'm not going to buy this, at least not on release. They'll wait and see how the reviews come out.
Yeah.
At the same time, though, a lot of times when these big companies release these games that turn out to be huge debacles, they kind of make the next game like an apology game, and somehow or another it ends up being really good.
Kind of
Yeah.
like Dragon Age Inquisition.
Yeah. Kind of like that.
I kind of feel like a lot of the design behind Inquisition, the whole open world, like, stupid, massive area thing, was almost like saying, oh, well, you thought our reused art assets in small areas were bad, huh? Well, fuck you. Here, navigate this, assholes. And, it's like, we'll complain about this at this time, And to its credit, the areas all have a very... they feel like they all belong in the same area, but, you never feel like you're running around the same cave. So.
Be like, it's to scale, motherfucker. You gotta take 1,500 steps per mile. You can only
Enjoy.
travel about 20 miles a day, and these cities are 60 miles apart. Like, oh my god, the monsters, like, you encounter, like, maybe one or two a day if you're being really reckless.
Oh, man.
It's like, oh my god.
Enjoy this game.
Yeah, enjoy this, game critics. Fuck you.
But yeah, I mean, a game like this comes out because I was actually really considering pre-ordering Assassin's Creed
You
Unity.
were.
I mean, the only reason I didn't is, lack of funds. Like, all right, I can get this game or this game, I guess I'll get this game and get this at a later date. And I mean, I was very lucky to not buy this because it would have been broken and I would have been pissed.
Yeah,
And,
dodged that bullet accidentally.
Exactly. So, it's getting more and more to where I'm just like, all right, day one, like buying a game day one is just not worth it anymore. It pays to just wait till it comes out, wait till I can get it a little bit cheaper, and wait till I can get it with all the fucking DLC they're trying to rip me off with,
Yeah,
That's
unless
pretty much always been my philosophy.
unless
It's a
it's a
good
game
philosophy.
where you really are like, okay, I really want to play this, and you're really invested. Yeah, but if it's something you're casually excited about, I totally agree. It's
Yeah.
like, and we're not really kids anymore. So that level of excitement is rare, I would say.
Yeah, I still get very excited for certain games. Like, anytime there's a new Rockstar, Grand Theft Auto, Red Dead
Oh, yeah.
Redemption thing, I'm going to be excited, but, I guess as you get older, you're not as easily excitable about
Yeah.
new releases.
Hey, man, life wears you down.
Ah, man, emo rare drop.
I know, right?
Hey, I hate to do this to you guys, but I have something that I need to do, and we've been going along for a while, so I really need to bail right now.
It's all,
All right,
good,
man.
dude. Good
That's
having
cool.
you, man.
Yes, thanks for joining us, man.
So enjoy the rest of the podcast without me.
Hi, dude.
All
Hope to
right.
talk to you soon.
All right,
Take it
take care,
easy.
gentlemen.
All right,
Later,
later,
dude.
man.
Oh,
All right.
no. It's a lonely podcast.
It is so sad. Well, we gotta hurry it up anyway. So
Yeah,
it's-
we
guess
got-
it's good.
We're not even on news yet, really, right?
Yeah,
We're on the
not
first of
really.
news, I guess.
We're
on
talking. These are more like talking points.
Yeah. Hey, well,
I mean-
we can talk. We know that.
Yeah. So just briefly, I wanted to mention CM Punk's basically shoot podcast, and
Yeah, You gave me the rundown on this.
he's basically the big news is that he's going to UFC.
Which is fucking crazy. Like, what
Yeah.
the hell is he thinking?
I know. When I first read this, I was like, wow. But
I don't think that's going to go well for him. I'm going to go ahead and say it.
I don't really think so either. But I think some of the very interesting points of the interview were him talking about how the WWE doctor just totally misdiagnosed a staph infection he had that could have killed him.
Yeah.
And also the letter he got from WWE on his wedding day firing him. Vince McMahon apologizing for that and claiming it wasn't intentional. Of course, CM Punk believes it was intentional.
I don't think it was either, but I mean that's just my personal opinion.
Yeah, I don't really know.
I don't think Vince McMahon has the time in his day to be like, ha ha ha, ha fuck your Punk, and send him his goddamn papers right now. He's getting married. Fuck that guy. I mean, Vince McMahon is not a fucking saint. All right, I understand that.
Yeah,
but...
he is a douchebag.
Exactly. He is a douchebag.
A piece of shit. No doubt about that.
But I do think that he is a guy who is fucking busy and probably doesn't have the time to worry about something like that.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, CM Punk talked about how he had spoken with Triple H, and said, hey, I'm getting married, talk to you when that's done, and basically, and then he gets the papers that he's fired in. So, I mean, it's almost like he was saying, hey, maybe Triple H sent them. Who knows, man? Who knows? I wouldn't put it past WWE to do it, though.
I don't know, man. I mean, I really don't know. I don't know enough about their fucking internal structure to offer a competent guess, I mean, if we're talking about just Vince and, like, there wasn't a conversation like that, maybe I'd say, like, yeah, probably not. But because I do think CM Punk is the type to get paranoid and feel like the world is against him when maybe not really, but...
Yeah, well, CM Punk is an asshole himself. I mean, there's no doubt about that. I mean, he's a very talented asshole.
Yes.
But he is an asshole. He's not a guy I'd want to hang out with, though.
Yeah.
He's
not
a nice dude. But also the story about Ryback.
Yeah, that was just funny when you told me that.
Apparently intentionally breaking his ribs. And
well, I don't mean that was funny. I just mean the conversation afterwards.
CM Punk telling him, say you're a dumb fuck. And he's like, I'm a dumb fuck.
Oh, no, did he say, tell me you're a dumb fuck? Or didn't he just say, like... either, you did that intentionally or you're a dumb fuck.
Yeah, that's actually how it went down.
Yeah.
He's like, I'm a dumb fuck.
And then he replied with that.
And apparently, that's, like, getting chanted at him now. And I will say last night he had a good match on the pay-per-view, but...
good for him.
But...
Sounds like he probably needs it.
He really does at this point. Poor Ryback. But, yeah, CM Punk, man. I mean, that podcast is very, very interesting. And obviously, it'll be interesting to see who his opponent is going to be in UFC.
Yeah, the Green Ranger wants some of them.
I'd pay to see that. Especially if he comes out to the Go-Go Power Ranger song.
That would be fucking incredible.
And I'm going to root for Jason David Frank against CM Punk.
I would too. I don't really care about CM Punk, to be honest. So I don't really have any particular... personal fandom for him. I'm like, all right, yeah, whatever.
I appreciate the fact that I think CM Punk was trying to turn things around in WWE, but I think CM Punk, like a lot of very talented wrestlers, has a massive ego, and, CM Punk felt that the only way to turn things around were to pretty much base the company around him, which they did to an extent, but John Cena was still main eventing pay-per-views when he was the however many month running WWE champion. So
yeah.
I
mean that's not going to change. I mean I think we all need to come to terms with that at this point.
I'm never gonna.
Or the John Cena rather will he'll be the go-to guy. He'll be the Hulk Hogan. He'll be the Steve Austin until he retires.
Except it's been 10 or rather now 11 years of this shit. Ugh. But anyway, enough about wrestling, man. Let's talk about news of the world we actually give a damn about, because Lord knows we don't follow the real news.
Yeah, don't be stupid.
Why would you?
Don't be stupid.
Don't be absurd.
Don't be impossible. Don't fall off that cliff.
Nice. So, man, Street Fighter V is a real game.
That's what they say.
There's like, there's a preview and everything. I don't know if you've seen the preview.
Yeah, I saw it.
It's pretty.
It looks like Street Fighter.
Yep.
I don't know. I can't tell a big difference between that and Street Fighter 4, but I haven't really seen Street Fighter 4 in a long time either. So
But I mean, how like at this point, how good can you get your game to look when it's
yeah.
art based? It looks terrific.
Oh yeah, it looks fantastic. Don't get me wrong.
But
I
Street
just-
Fighter 4 also looked terrific.
Yeah, Street
so,
Fighter 4 definitely looked nice.
Yeah.
Ow.
I think the more interesting story in this, though, is that the game is being produced in partnership with Sony, and it's going to be exclusive for PlayStation 4 and PC.
Yeah, that one was kind of a shocker for sure.
Yeah, I was really surprised. It's also apparently going to feature cross-platform multiplayer, which is really cool.
That is cool. It really sucks for Xbox One owners though. Like seriously, I wish they hadn't done this.
Yeah.
With a game like Street Fighter, I mean, it sucks in the same way that like Tomb Raider is platform exclusive for the Xbox One. That
Right.
sucks because these are games that were previously available on all systems, and
Every-
now the people who own just that one console are fucked.
Mhm.
They can't play the next one. That sucks.
I feel like my PC is sort of my Microsoft system at this point.
Yeah, I mean, dude, if you have a PC and a game's out for it, play
Yeah.
that. I mean, as long as it's
Exactly.
optimized well, obviously.
Yeah.
There's going to be cases where they clearly just didn't give a fuck about the PC edition of the game, and maybe in that case, if you actually care about the game, get the one of the other versions. But in every other case, PC is going to be the winner.
Yeah, no doubt about that. But yeah, man, I'm excited for Street Fighter 5. I mean, who knows when it's coming out? It's probably going to be 1 or 2 years, but
Yeah, I mean, I'm glad it exists, but I don't know. I'm not really into fighting games, I guess, at this point. So I'm kind of like, all right. I think a lot of it's because we, not really young anymore. Don't live around a bunch of friends. Not going to get together and, play Street Fighter. So
yeah, but it's still fun.
it is, but I don't really care much about the single player.
And the online components make it to where you can play with anyone anytime you want to. And
Yeah, but
I will say Capcom has got their online mode to be pretty good, where it matches you up with someone who is typically of your skill level, or at least not. I mean, you're not going to encounter a person who's just going to whip your ass all over the place.
hey, I'm sure that happens now because there's not many people playing the game because it's so old.
Yeah,
But
yeah, that could be.
when it's new and fresh, yeah, I can see that for sure.
Yeah, back when I was playing it online, it was matching me up with good people.
Yeah,
but,
well,
that's been a
people-
long time.
I wouldn't say that we're really particularly good. It was matching us up with appropriate people.
Yeah, yeah. Well, people of our skill level.
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know. But and I have not played the whatever, I guess, Ultra Street Fighter 4. So
Whatever the hell
I
it
don't
is.
know. I mean, I feel like if you're still playing Street Fighter 4, you kind of have to be like
You're hardcore.
really, really good. At this
Either that
point.
or you have the newest version of it, which is only like a few months old, I think, ironically.
yeah, yeah. It's not.
But people
not
who
real.
bought that are probably mostly hardcores either. Or also, rather. Either. What the hell is
yeah,
that?
it's kind of crazy, man.
It
But,
is pretty fucking crazy. You will not get any talk back from me, my friend.
So we talked about how games should be delayed when they're unfinished.
That would
And,
sure be nice, wouldn't it?
It would be. Well, apparently CD Projekt Red is doing that because they
Because
are
they
delaying.
actually fucking care about the Witcher
Yeah.
franchise. Imagine that.
Yep, Witcher 3 is being delayed until May, and I think that's good, man.
Which is
With the-
crazy because that game's been in development for almost 3 years now, I think. Or maybe even 3 years.
I'm happy they're doing it. Let them iron out all the kinks. Just get rid of anything that's wrong with it.
Yeah. I agree.
I'd much rather go down that way.
There's a part of me that wonders if the delay, because this came like very shortly after Inquisition was released, and part of me wonders if they in part they did that, not obviously as an exclusive reaction, but because it turned out to be a really good, RPG open world game. Because The Witcher 3 is also going to be an open world RPG game. Maybe they feel like they had some weak points that were kind of similar to Inquisitions, and maybe they kind of saw some of the feedback and were like, maybe we should take a little bit of time and iron out some of these aspects that game was weaker in, so our game will come out, looking really fucking good.
That would make a whole lot of sense, wouldn't it?
It would. I mean, it's not a party, tactical sort of based RPG. It's a, clearly a one-person action RPG, but it's still going to be open world. It's still going to have RPG quests, dialogue, all that kind of good stuff. So it wouldn't surprise me if that was a part of the decision. I'm not saying that they reacted to BioWare.
Right.
Don't get me wrong, because there's people who take that out of context and be like, you fucking care that... Are you think CD Projekt Red is watching, like, BioWare's games and, like, basing what they're doing around that? No, not really. But I do think that they, like any logical creator of games would, they play games that are, kind of in some ways similar to their own, and they take ideas and they refine them.
Yep, they want to make money in the end, and
Yeah, they want to make money, and they clearly are passionate about that game. I mean, hell, the frickin' they gave a copy of that game to Obama. Witcher 2, that is, yeah.
That's awesome.
They freaking presented a copy of The Witcher 2 to Obama. So,
it's
a game that, that the Polish people feel some pride in.
That is a game that I want to play. I still have not played Witcher 2, but I'm kind of glad it's been delayed because it gives me a chance to play it, and it's on my list of games to play.
It's going to be hard, so I don't know if you'll stick with it, but you should play it.
We'll see.
You should watch someone play it, because that game is a game worth keeping an eye on. I want to play Witcher 3. I think I might actually buy that when it comes out, which means it might actually be my next, I was about to say day of release, but then again, I don't think my PC will be able to run it well, so I don't know. In fact, I'm pretty sure it won't, because I can't even run The Witcher 2. I can run it, but I can't run it well, not even well enough to really play it.
Yeah.
I've watched that game played. But I own the game, and I bought it, so hey, I supported it. You guys should too.
There you go, boys and girls. Support your local Witcher.
That's right. Provided that you like RPG, like action RPG games, and are, mature enough to have some boobs in your games.
Yes. And it's, it's out on 360 and PS3 at this point as well.
It is. And, who knows? The Witcher 3, I may end up getting it for something else.
There you go, man. So we've been talking about a Final Fantasy VII remake for years now, man.
Fuck you, Square.
And you know what?
You in the ass. What now?
It's not gonna happen.
No shit. You think
they are gonna give you a port though?
That is the dumbest. That was the biggest.
Final Fantasy VII, the PC edition.
They might as well have dragged their dick out of their pants on that stage.
Very small penis.
Yes, very small penis, and said
Japanese.
And said, "Suck it," to everyone who was at that conference. Because when that began, everyone thought that, holy shit, are you fucking serious? And then it was just, again, a big old fuck you.
That's how Square does, man. They've also...
I seriously don't understand how this doesn't happen.
I don't either.
They know. They know this. They know this.
They're sitting on millions of dollars.
Yeah, they deliberately just shit all over the potential cash. They're like, no, fuck you. We don't need your money.
And I mean, it's gotten to the point now where, a lot of the people who would have bought that Final Fantasy VII remake don't even play video games anymore.
Yeah,
or
it's a
very
generation.
Casually play,
Final Fantasy VII is still, revered among, in the game community because of people that still, are around that have played it. But, the fever and fanboyism has died down some because, hey, there's less people who were insane about it around,
That should have been a PS3 game, man. I'm still harping on it.
It should have, but whatever.
But anyway, Square's also announced that the PlayStation 4 version of Final Fantasy X and X-2 HD Remastered will be a pack and a system exclusive. It's going to be available for download, and I don't think I have the price here. But anyway, so there you go. Square. They'll release a remastered version of...
They'll port their shit so you can buy it again.
Pretty much.
Basically, they'll pull a Nintendo. Oh, I'm firing shots all around.
Man!
I fucking said it.
I would have worried about sponsors back in the day, but you know what? We don't worry about that now.
I still would have said it back in the day because I never cared.
Nice.
Another... I mean... That's the thing that they both do. And the ironic thing is, though, I say that, but, I've considered buying a couple of Square's games on the PC.
Oh, Oh,
and I probably
really?
will eventually buy the Final Fantasy 3 when it goes get on a good sale. And I think there's one other one I'm interested in buying. But anyway, I got it on my wish list.
Yeah. There you go. So another game that's been pushed back is Bloodborne. It's
Yes,
been pushed back until late March.
which I'm actually really happy about. Because, Dark Souls 2, a lot of people really liked it, but it also had a lot of, not a lot of, but it had some problems that really bugged a lot of people that it seems like could have been ironed out pretty easily if it had had
Yeah.
a little more time in the oven. So hopefully with Bloodborne, they're like, maybe we should spend a tad more time on this and, take care of that kind of thing.
That's another game I'm really excited about, though, man.
Bloodborne?
Yes, it looks tremendous.
I'm shocked about that, to be honest.
Really?
Yeah, you don't play Dark Souls, like Demon Souls type games.
I have
should call
played some of the first Dark Souls. I didn't get far in it, but I liked it. I liked what I played. It hard as hell,
it. Yeah, and you hate hard games as much, if not more, than me. So
but apparently, Bloodborne is not going to be as punishing as Dark Souls. So
they always say that.
we'll see, right?
Yeah, we will see. I don't know. Who knows? I don't think they're gonna just start making accessible games though. That just doesn't seem to be what From does with these types of games.
You never know.
You do never know. That's very true.
Never know.
When are you gonna go?
That is true. So we talked about how shitty Assassin's Creed is, and the next one is already being made, of course.
I mean, that was
And-
being made before this, clearly, but it's
Yeah.
been announced now.
Yep. Well, it was leaked first, and now I guess it's been announced. Anyway, it's going to take place in Victorian London. Again, a location that I really want to get excited about, and that I feel like they could do so much with. But damn it, man, Assassin's Creed just drops the ball.
All they do is fucking milk their shit, man. Like
They do.
they are not concerned about new interesting gameplay. They don't give
No.
a fuck, man.
Their
all they want,
stories.
all they want is your fucking money, and they don't
Yep.
they don't even pretend otherwise anymore. It's just,
No. It's
ugh.
ridiculous.
I mean, I was bitching about this before, and this year's debacle, basically.
Yeah, well, Black Flag was a very good game in my opinion. I mean,
It was,
I
but-
really did enjoy it, but I
But
feel like
that was the only one in how many years
Oh,
that
man.
like people have been like, wow, that was really good.
like since the
second
or
one.
third one.
Since
Yeah.
or was it Brotherhood? The one with Ezio. And then
Yeah,
they
I think
milked
that was the second one.
and then they milked Ezio for 3 games, literally, before they killed him and moved on to someone else, which I think was the one with the
Native American dude.
Yeah, and apparently that one wasn't very good.
It wasn't. It wasn't.
I don't know. The funny thing is, like, I talk about this like I'm an authority, but like I complain about Assassin's Creed games, and I don't play them because I feel that way, So maybe fuck me, I guess. I don't know what I'm talking about. But
I mean, there's so much potential there. Like, it's very irritating to see it squandered.
yeah,
because
because
the
it's so formulaic is my problem.
the parkour system is good.
It's good, but it could
combat
use a
could
little
be
tweaking.
improved. Yeah, I mean, of course. There's just a lot of potential to tell really great stories there, and they never do it. And now this year, I mean, I haven't played the new one obviously because it's fucking broken.
And
I
the thing
couldn't
is,
if I
like,
wanted to.
The thing is, I have no idea about where the story in Assassin's Creed is either. So like you talk about that potential to tell good stories, I wouldn't fucking know, man.
Well, I mean, back in I don't care about the modern day story. I care about the story in the past.
Yeah,
with the
right.
Assassin's guys.
You
and-
care about the one, in the setting. The setting that they, base all their marketing on.
Right. But it's frustrating, man. It's very frustrating. So anyway, next year's Assassin's Creed is going to be in Victorian London, and man, I mean, who's going to buy it day one,
Oh, people will. Because they're dumb.
I won't be one of those people, I'll tell you that.
It's a good call. But,
Anyway.
who knows? Maybe it will be fucking awesome.
And
I
that
hope
would
it
be
is. Yeah.
I hope so too.
I bitch about this, but I bitch about it because I would love to see it improve. I really enjoyed, Assassin's Creed 1. I thought 2 was fine, but even back then, I was kind of like, I don't really know if I really need to play this again. And then they started making it annual, and I checked out.
Yeah, the whole annual thing is retarded.
It's dumb. In a game like
is,
that, it should
you know,
not be annual. That should be a 2 to 3 year game.
And it's retarded for WWE games too, by the way. Like they
Yeah,
in that shit.
I wish they wouldn't, but like it's even like more understandable in that, and they can use that excuse because it's basically like treated like a sport, and that's how they treat sports games. So of course WWE is going to be like that, right?
Yeah, unfortunately.
And so I mean, you know, it is what it is, but it's what you're going to hear.
Yeah, man. I just feel like video games are like evolving at such a slower rate than they used to, and all the creativity is on like these independent games like Rodina. I mean, like the game you're playing now, it's
Yeah, this is an early access game. It's been
Yeah.
early access for like over a year too.
these
It's a
games
good
are
game.
these games are actually fun.
I mean, I wouldn't go that
Innovative.
far. You can have a lot of fun with a lot of the AAA games out there, but they definitely are
Not if they don't work.
And they're yeah, that's true. But they're also not really a good place for new, interesting ideas because
Yeah.
that's not what they do. Because you have to prove a concept before they are going to invest money in it. And there you go.
I mean, it's like movies. These games are just so expensive to make, and
Yep.
well, video games are even more expensive than movies at this point. So
Yeah, to make a really big one, yeah.
yeah. But yeah, man, we've come to the end of the show.
Oh, already? Wow.
We've got to do. Well, before we get to the end, we've got to do our 2014 Game of the Year.
All right.
I know that Adam, he actually had already told me like he wasn't gonna give a 2014 Game of the Year because he didn't feel he had played enough. And to an extent, this year I haven't played as many video games as I normally have. I feel like it's been a pretty slow year for video games. And then I guess with all the really lousy stuff happening at the end, I kind of got a bad taste in my mouth for the industry right now.
I don't know. I don't know if I'd say that it's been a slow year for games necessarily. I just feel like most of the big stuff waited until the end of the year to come out. But
Yeah.
yeah, it definitely a lot of people I think have been turned off by the sort of practices we've seen here at the end of this year in particular.
Yeah,
And
definitely.
understandably so, and then there was the whole scandal with well, actually I'm not even going to talk about that. But the scandals
whole
of this
scandal.
year were
Right.
were almost outrageous.
Oh, they were-
compared to
it's-
most years.
It's like shit you would write in a movie.
It's fucking ridiculous, man. The
Yeah.
way some people have been treated over this crap, and the way it's dragged so many people through the mud and like legitimately not just hurt their careers but their lives and all. It's fucking bullshit. It's video games, guys. We're supposed to be having fun.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I mean, even if the creators have to like toil and endure this shit, like when it gets past that part, we're supposed to be enjoying this stuff. Like, I mean, I understand if you're passionate about it, like you complain about this or that, because you want to see it improve, like like I was doing earlier. But don't make it more personal and oh fuck.
I have never, like, the thought of tweeting a person directly and being like, fuck your game or something like that has never even crossed my mind. Like, I feel like normal people, well, excuse me, normal human beings don't do that kind of shit,
You got to make a distinction.
I feel like I do at this point, man. I feel like I do, which is sad. But 2014 year of the game of the year, if I can talk. Speaking of being
Year of the games.
year of the games, blah, blah, blah. I guess my game of the year is probably going to be a game from last year, sort of, and that's going to be The Last of Us Remastered on the PlayStation 4.
Well, that game did come out this year. It was just a port, and not necessarily just a port either. It was a remaster, and it included all the DLC and
Yeah,
all that good stuff. So
I mean, a lot of people, they'd say the same thing about Grand Theft Auto 5, which I also thought about
yeah,
giving this to, but
I mean, there are
I-
people who would criticize the choice, but
yeah, but,
that's going to happen no matter what you pick. So don't even worry about
True.
it.
I mean, ultimately, these are just our individual choices, and
Right, and
I
I mean,
think-
don't take us as an authority. I think we've all played less games than maybe even ever this year, like
Oh,
in terms
yeah.
of like new releases. So this is
Yeah.
hardly your go-to place for end of the year game coverage, but
yeah,
we're just a couple of guys sitting around talking about games that enjoy it.
Yep, video games and shows and movies we like, and
Yep.
happen to have a show. You know,
Oh crap!
people who don't know. I mean, if you watch the initial podcast, the episode 00, you know, we talk about how we've been doing this podcast for a long time. So
We have. You wouldn't know it, but
no, but you know,
but we have.
long time.
And it's all kinds of different iterations and stuff. It's been fun. It's
Yeah.
been fun. Oh no.
But yeah, man, I mean, I don't think I can say anything about The Last of Us Remastered that hasn't already been said. I mean, it's a great game. If you
Well, I
like
mean-
The Walking Dead or Resident Evil,
What are the
You know.
points about it that you really enjoy personally? You know, what do you
oh man,
think